A to Z Social Studies Class 8.
Chapter 4: The Colonial Era in India. The Marathas had significantly diminished the power of the Mughal Empire, only to fall to British forces in the early 19th century. However, military clashes were just one aspect of how India came to be known as the jewel in the crown of the British Empire, ultimately becoming its largest colony. This chapter explores colonialism broadly before focusing specifically on India, examining how European powers arrived, how the British transformed from traders into rulers, the devastating human and economic costs of their rule, the resistance movements that emerge, and the lasting impact of colonialism on Indian society and economy. The era of colonialism. Colonialism refers to the process through which one nation asserts control over another region, creating settlements and imposing its own political, economic, and cultural frameworks. A phenomenon dating back to ancient empires and the spread of Christianity and Islam. The age of colonialism specifically refers to Europe's expansion from the 15th century, when Spain, Portugal, Britain, France, and the Netherlands colonized Africa, Asia, the Americas, and the Pacific. Driving factors included political rivalry, economic benefits such as resources, markets, and plunder, religious conversion, and scientific curiosity. Colonizers claimed a civilizing mission, but the reality involved loss of independence, resource exploitation, and destruction of traditional lifestyles, until decolonization began after World War II. Europeans in India. Background. India had a long history of trade dating back over 2 millennia with Greeks and Romans, exporting spices, cotton, ivory, gems, sandalwood, and Wootz steel. Before the 16th century, India was a vibrant economic hub, with economist Angus Maddison noting that India represented at least a quarter of the world's gross domestic product, making it among the largest economies alongside China. European travelers from the 16th century onward remarked on India's flourishing manufacturing, agriculture, and trade networks. This economic vitality, ironically, made India an appealing target for European colonial ambitions, setting the stage for centuries of foreign intervention and eventual domination by competing European trading powers. The Portuguese, commerce and atrocities. Vasco da Gama's arrival at Kapad, Kerala, in May 4018 marked the start of European colonization in India. Though initially welcomed, his aggressive tactics, including seizing, torturing, and killing Indian merchants and bombarding Calicut, damaged relations. The Portuguese captured Goa in 5010, making it their colonial capital, and instituted the Cartaz system requiring Portuguese permits for ships in the Arabian Sea, dominating the spice trade for nearly a century. They also established the brutal Goa Inquisition in 5060, persecuting Hindus, Muslims, Jews, and suspect converts through forced conversions and temple destruction, which remained in effect until 1812. Rani Abaka of Ulao notably resisted Portuguese advances in Karnataka. The Dutch, commerce and competition. In the early 17th century, the Dutch arrived in India, focusing on commercial supremacy in the spice trade rather than religious conquest like the Portuguese. They founded the Dutch East India Company, establishing trading posts at Surat, Bharuch, Cochin, Nagapattinam, and Masulipatinam, with their strongest foothold in Kerala's Malabar region, pushing out the Portuguese from key centers. However, Dutch power declined significantly after their defeat at the Battle of Colachal in 1741, where Travancore's King Marthandavarma triumphed over them on both land and sea, representing a notable instance of an Asian power successfully resisting European colonial forces during this era. The French colonial aspirations in India. The French entered India late, establishing their first trading post at Surat in 1668 and later Pondicherry in 1674, which served as the base for their East India Company. Dupleix, who served as Governor-General from 1742 to 1754, pioneered strategies later copied by the British, such as training Indian soldiers as disciplined sepoys and establishing indirect rule through local puppet rulers. French ambitions were stymied during the Carnatic Wars against the British from 1746 to 1763, and despite capturing Madras in 1746, the French ultimately lost ground, retaining only Pondicherry and minor enclaves. Unlike the Portuguese, French colonialism did not deeply penetrate Indian religious practices, barring the controversial 1748 destruction of Pondicherry's Vedapurishwaran temple. The French colonial aspirations in India. The French entered India late, establishing their first trading post at Surat in 1668 and later Pondicherry in 1674, which served as the base for their East India Company. Dupleix, who served as Governor-General from 1742 to 1754, pioneered strategies later copied by the British, such as training Indian soldiers as disciplined sepoys and establishing indirect rule through local puppet rulers. French ambitions were stymied during the Carnatic Wars against the British from 1746 to 1763, and despite capturing Madras in 1746, the French ultimately lost ground, retaining only Pondicherry and minor enclaves. Unlike the Portuguese, French colonialism did not deeply penetrate Indian religious practices, barring the controversial 1748 destruction of Pondicherry's Vedapurishwaran temple. The British presence in India, from traders to rulers. The British conquest of India illustrates how a trading company evolved into an imperial force gradually, masquerading as commercial activity. The English East India Company, backed by a royal charter from Queen Elizabeth I granting it a private army, secured footholds at Surat, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta in the 17th century, as local rulers welcomed trade. These humble beginnings masked the company's broader ambitions for regional control and dominance, setting the stage for a calculated, gradual transformation from commercial enterprise into the paramount political and military power across the Indian subcontinent over the following 2 centuries. The harrowing legacy of famine. After securing tax collection rights in Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha following the Battle of Plassey, the East India Company's relentless revenue extraction prioritized profit over human welfare. Between 1770 and 1772, following crop failures, burdensome taxes caused Bengal's catastrophic famine, which killed nearly 1/3 of the population, approximately 10 million people, while the company actually increased land taxes during the crisis. British official William Wilson Hunter described people eating leaves and selling their children for survival. Later, the Great Famine of 1876 to 1878 killed up to 8 million people, even as Britain continued exporting grain and Viceroy Lytton held a lavish Durbar feast. Estimates suggest that colonial-era famines killed 50 to 100 million Indians overall, a death toll comparable to that of the Second World War. The drain of India's wealth. Historian Brooks Adams noted that Bengal's plunder after the Battle of Plassey directly fueled Britain's Industrial Revolution beginning in 1760, with no other investment ever yielding such profit. Dadabhai Nauroji's work, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, published in 1901, and Romesh Chunder Dutt's Economic History of India, documented billions drained from the subcontinent. Modern economist Utsa Patnaik estimates that $45 trillion was extracted between 1765 and 1938, roughly 13 times Britain's GDP in 2023, through oppressive taxation and forcing Indians to fund colonial infrastructure like railways and telegraphs, as well as military expenses. Had this wealth remained in India, the nation's post-independence trajectory would likely have looked dramatically different. Changing landscapes. Decline of India's indigenous industries. Until the 18th century, India excelled in textile manufacturing, including cotton, silk, wool, and jute, and was prized globally for its exquisite designs. British policies imposed steep taxes on Indian textiles entering Britain while allowing British goods into India nearly tariff-free, alongside strict control over maritime trade and currency. This policy devastated India's textile industry, prompting Governor-General William Bentinck to remark in 1834 that the bones of the cotton weavers were bleaching the plains of India. Similar declines struck traditional iron, steel, and paper production. Consequently, India's share of global gross domestic product dwindled to just 5% by independence, reducing one of the world's wealthiest regions to widespread poverty within 2 centuries. Changing landscapes. dismantling traditional governance structures. Before British rule, India possessed well-structured local self-governance, where village councils managed local disputes and public works such as irrigation and roads. Charles Metcalfe, acting Governor-General in the 1830s, famously described these village communities as little republics that survived even as dynasties fell, crediting them for preserving India's people through centuries of political change. However, the British systematically dismantled these indigenous systems, replacing them with a centralized bureaucracy focused primarily on tax collection and order rather than public welfare. The introduction of British legal codes ignored customary laws, framing these changes as modernization while actually disconnecting ordinary Indians from justice through courts that were costly, slow, and conducted in a foreign language. Changing landscapes, transforming Indian education. Education became a tool to create individuals aligned with British interests. Historically, India possessed rich educational traditions, including pathashalas, madrasas, and viharas, with an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 village schools in Bengal and Bihar alone by 1830. Thomas Macaulay's infamous 1835 Minute on Indian Education declared European knowledge superior, aiming to create a class of people Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, opinions, morals, and intellect. Despite Macaulay admitting he knew no Sanskrit or Arabic. This policy led to the decline of traditional schools, established English as the prestigious colonial language, produced low-cost Indian clerks for colonial administration, and disconnected generations from their cultural roots. Changing landscapes, restructuring economic frameworks for imperial objectives. The British transformed India's economy from a system of self-sustaining agriculture and craft into a source of raw materials for British industry and a captive market for British goods. Although the Indian railway network improved internal connectivity, its primary purposes were to transport raw materials to ports for export, distribute British manufactured goods inland, and enable rapid troop mobilization to suppress uprisings, deliberately bypassing and ignoring existing indigenous trade routes. Crucially, railway and telegraph construction was financed almost entirely through Indian tax revenues rather than British investments. Similarly, the costs of colonial administration, military upkeep, and the lavish lifestyles of British officials in India were funded entirely by Indian taxation, meaning Indians effectively financed their own subjugation and oppression. Early resistance movements, the Sannyasi Fakir Rebellion. India, dubbed the jewel in the crown of an empire on which the sun never sets, saw resistance emerge from the very outset of British conquest. One of the earliest organized movements, the Sannyasi Fakir Rebellion, emerged in Bengal following the 1770 famine, as Hindu ascetics and Muslim fakirs found their traditional movements and pilgrimages hindered by new British land and tax policies. Over 30 years, they launched coordinated attacks on British treasuries and tax collectors. Although the British labeled them common bandits and suppressed them militarily, the rebellion left a lasting cultural imprint. It later inspired Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's 1882 novel Anandamath, which featured the song Vande Mataram, a composition that eventually became India's national song after independence. As the British expanded into forests and hills, tribal communities faced severe disruption. They were labeled primitive, restricted from forest resources, subjected to land seizure, cash taxes, debt cycles, dismantled councils, forced conversion attempts, and even branded as criminal tribes under colonial law. The Coal Uprising, from 1831 to 1832, in Chotanagpur, Jharkhand, erupted when British land policies favored outsiders over tribal populations, briefly reclaiming land before suppression. The larger Santhal Rebellion, from 1855 to 1856, led by brothers Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu across Jharkhand, Bihar, and West Bengal, fought British-backed moneylenders and landlords. The British responded savagely, burning villages and massacring thousands, though it inspired further tribal resistance. Even without famine, peasants suffered under unjust British revenue collection, often losing land to moneylenders and new landlords. The Indigo Revolt, from 1859 to 1862, exemplified this exploitation. European planters coerced Bengal peasants into abandoning food crops for indigo, which was profitable in Europe for dyeing, leaving peasants with meager wages and debt slavery. Resistors faced imprisonment, torture, and home destruction. The revolt targeted exploitative planters directly, gaining support from educated Bengalis and the local press, prompting limited British action against abuses. This uprising, among many across the subcontinent, contributed to growing dissatisfaction that culminated in the most significant 19th-century uprising, the Great Rebellion of 1857. Known to the British as the Sepoy Mutiny, but now called the Great Rebellion of 1857, this uprising had roots in earlier unrest like the 1806 Vellore Mutiny, sparked by uniform regulations conflicting with religious beliefs. Most sepoys came from agricultural backgrounds affected by harsh land revenue policies. In 1857, rumors that rifle cartridges were coated with cow and pig fat deeply offended Hindu and Muslim sepoys alike. Sepoy Mangal Pandey's attack on British officers at Bharatpur and his subsequent execution triggered wider unrest. Sepoys in Meerut turned against officers and marched to Delhi, declaring elderly Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar their nominal leader. The revolt spread rapidly across northern and central India, with sepoys capturing Kanpur, Lucknow, and Jhansi. In Kanpur, rebel forces under Nana Sahib massacred over 200 British civilians despite promising safe passage, a controversial episode. British retaliation was systematic and brutal, retaking Delhi in September 1857 with house-to-house killings, mass executions in Kanpur, and burning entire villages during a prolonged punitive campaign, causing casualties far exceeding rebel-caused deaths. The rebellion's failure is often attributed to a lack of unified leadership, but it planted the enduring idea that foreign rule was intolerable, eventually blossoming into the 20th century independence movement. In 1858, the British Crown assumed direct control from the East India Company, beginning the British Raj. Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi valiantly resisted British annexation. Guided by Maratha leader Tatia Tope, she escaped besieged Jhansi and led a successful assault on Gwalior Fort, before dying in battle on June 18, 1858. A British officer called her the best and bravest of the rebels. Tatia Tope fought until early 1859, before being betrayed, captured, and executed. Begum Hazrat Mahal of Awadh resisted British control after her kingdom's annexation, defending Lucknow during the 1857 uprising. Refusing British offers of safe passage, she fled to Nepal. When Queen Victoria promised non-interference and Indian inclusion in governance, Hazrat Mahal warned her countrymen not to trust such pledges, noting the English never forgive a fault. European domination, primarily British, was no civilizing mission. India's civilization predated Europe's by centuries. Instead, it was systematic subjugation and exploitation, involving suffering, violence, and disruption for most Indians. However, colonial rule inadvertently produced unintended outcomes. It connected India globally, and British and French documentation of geography and ethnic groups, despite flawed racial assumptions, gave rise to archaeology, recording and restoring India's architectural heritage. Yet this came at a steep price. Thousands of artifacts, including statues, paintings, jewels, and manuscripts, were taken to European museums and private collections, representing significant cultural loss. There are ongoing modern efforts toward the repatriation of these treasures to India. British scholars, though not the first Europeans to understand Sanskrit, played a key role in translating Sanskrit texts into European languages, inspiring French and German scholars to follow. Motivations varied. Some had a genuine fascination with India's ancient culture, while others held beliefs that studying Indian texts would bolster arguments for Christian superiority. German philosopher Georg Hegel likened the emergence of Sanskrit studies in Europe to discovering a new continent. Indian texts profoundly influenced European thinkers, writers, poets, artists, and politicians. This cultural exchange even extended to the United States in the 19th century. It serves as a reminder that while political power was one-sided, Cultural influence flowed in unexpected directions between the colonizer and the colonized.